An AEW wrestler is flat out talking about competing at WrestleMania this year. And based on this contract status, we got some updates. We're going to talk about it right here on the Ango Show. But our first story of today's video, we are talking about Jeff Jarrett and this massive announcement for AEW. AEW put out a press release. AEW partners with TFA and Turbo to extend reach of new live event series, AEW House Rules. So if you guys don't know what this is, basically AEW joining forces with the Feldman Agency and Turbo Entertainment, which is Canada's leading live entertainment companies. The partnership will bring AEW's House Rules shows to local venues across North America and provide fans with a spectacular and engaging environment. In addition, the Feldman Agency and Turbo will also provide support to explore multifaceted brand partnerships. So obviously, in very simple terms, what's happening here is AEW is expanding their House Rules shows, which is their house shows. Okay. I don't think it needs a fancy name. I see what they're trying to do. For me, I'm just going to refer it to as a house show moving forward because that's exactly what it is. But Jeff Jarrett is the one behind some of these big decisions that are happening. He is the director. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. He is the director of business development, I believe. Yeah, AEW's director of business development. So if you guys didn't know, Jeff Jarrett obviously does a lot more than just wrestle on Wednesday nights. But this is a big thing for AEW. They're trying to go and make a big splash. If you guys follow my YouTube channel, I actually posted a photo on the community tab. That house show that they did in Troy, Ohio was nearly sold out. So listen, that's not a big market. Realistically, that's not a big market compared to other cities that they can go to. But that one did very well for AEW, which is just a good thing to see. It's a healthy thing to see in wrestling when you see that house shows are potentially, doing well. There's rumors that WWE might actually get away from house shows. So it would be interesting to see AEW pick it up and WWE not pick it up. But I just don't think, in wrestling, house shows really matter that much. I know Impact and all these other companies used to do them way more often prior to the pandemic. But nonetheless, it's not something that's absolutely needed. But I think it is good for AEW to be selling out of them and doing more expansion, obviously, of those events. Another AEW announcement. This one is exciting. Guys, AEW has announced their live television event for Saturday, July 8th. And it's in Saskatchewan, Canada. However, the problem is AEW is not specifying the name of the event. Now, normally you would think it's Battle of the Belts, but normally AEW would just reveal that to you. It appears that this could very well be the actual third show for AEW. So if you guys don't know, on March 24th, in 2 days from now, you'll be able to buy tickets to this event, Saturday, July 8th, new date and time. Bell time is 6 p.m. Eastern. Kind of sounds like the reported AEW Collision that we've talked about for a while now on this channel. So guys, this is just why I tell you, if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. I see some of these other channels, they're taking days to keep you updated. I'm going to keep you updated every single day, 24/7, multiple videos per day. But look at this. They are launching their live show. They haven't technically announced it, but they're announcing it, if that makes sense. So this is fantastic news for AEW. I'm actually glad to see that this is being discussed. I'm glad to see that people are talking about this. I'm glad to see that AEW is making a big deal out of it. What the hell is going to happen? Is this going to be a live show every Saturday? What is AEW's plan? If the bell time is 6 p.m., yeah, this goes right in line with what we've been seeing about the trademarks and the rumors and everything there. But for some reason, there hasn't been that many details. So I think this is, in fact, AEW Collision. We'll see. I think just by looking at this announcement and this poster, I think it's clear to say that this is not the AEW all-women's show. Why? You have women and men on the poster. So I think it completely derails the idea of that. But now the real question is, if you're AEW, how do you make this show different from Rampage, and how do you make this show different from Dynamite? I am so curious to see how Tony Khan does this differently, because that's what matters. If Tony Khan doesn't do it differently, if Tony Khan doesn't make a big deal out of this, that could be a massive issue. They got to do something to make this really good. And the fact that it's live, okay, that's cool. But if it's only going to be live for like the first episode and then the rest of them are being taped, that could be somewhat of an issue. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen just yet. AEW is keeping a tight lid on it, sort of, kind of, because they are announcing that this televised event is taking place July 8th. You could buy tickets on the 24th starting at 10 a.m. Central Time. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think about that. We are going to jump into today's final video. Guys, Brian Cage is not playing around, and I get a lot of comments about Brian Cage. I actually am kind of shocked to see how many people are that interested in Brian Cage's situation because it's not often talked about. But basically, what ends up happening is last night, Brian Cage goes onto Twitter and says, if there was a forbidden door like never before, Lashley vs. Cage 3 at WrestleMania would be it. He then follows up with that tweet by saying, undefeated against Lashley at Impact, best body guys of individual companies, heard Lashley will need an opponent at WrestleMania, pretty sure I got nothing to do, and in town after Supercard of Honor. And then he ends up retweeting a post of somebody who actually ends up making the WrestleMania match card graphic. And I'll throw this on the screen for you guys, maybe if it works. I don't know. I'll put the link in the description. How about that? Or I'll post it on my community tab. But somebody posted this graphic, and it looks legitimate. And here's the thing, guys. Brian Cage, we don't know his whole contract situation with AEW and ROH. But I think if Brian Cage and the Embassy drop those 6-man tag titles at Supercard of Honor, maybe that is when Brian Cage is completely free from the company. Because last time we heard about Brian Cage's situation, online-wise, like on the reports and the rumors, a lot of the talk was that maybe Brian Cage wasn't going to re-sign, but he was going to have a extended contract just so he could work some dates. If Brian Cage loses, I mean, I'm going to assume that more than likely he didn't re-sign. But ultimately, Brian Cage staying with AEW, leaving AEW, it's not really like, I like Brian Cage a lot. Like, I think this guy is really good. I don't think he's been handled well in this company. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. I don't think his booking has been great in AEW. And in fact, as somebody who's a longtime viewer of Impact, I will always say that Impact handled Brian Cage pretty damn well. I liked watching him in Impact. He was a world champion in Impact. A lot of people had the expectations that he would be a big deal in AEW. Tony Khan didn't do that with Brian Cage. He was signed, didn't really have big plans. Then ROH comes around and, oh, by the way, we'll just throw you on ROH now. I don't know. There's just something about that. I didn't really enjoy seeing that. So if he were to leave AEW, I would not be mad about that. If he does decide to re-sign with AEW and Brian Cage ends up staying in the company and they decide to push him, I support that. I just want to see this guy actually get pushed and actually do some great things, not just have some of these great one-off matches and then, you know, no longer a big deal, right? It's all about momentum. They never really created that momentum with Brian Cage. They never really did anything with Brian Cage. And for him to openly talk about WrestleMania is pretty interesting. So we'll keep you guys updated along the way. Obviously, a lot of big stories to pay attention to. My name is Ango. This is The Ango Show, and I'll see you next time.